These two individuals are responsible for bringing NBA Top Shot to the wider community, and more importantly, it's been one of the most successful consumer utilizations of blockchain technology that I certainly have encountered. So I've been really privileged to talk to you both. I'm excited to chat with you with the larger community. My name is Darren Markovitz. I represent IMVU and Dapper Labs. So we create technologies that empower people worldwide to create and connect and earn virtual worlds. IMVU is the largest avatar-based social network with 300 million users. And we're here, as I mentioned, to discuss NBA Top Shot. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about you guys. So Adrienne and Caty, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves. Adrienne, if you wouldn't mind going first, tell us what you do with the NBA and kind of how you came there.
Yeah, sure. And thanks again for having me. Excited to be here to talk about Top Shot today. So a little bit of background about myself. So I started my career actually in tech, spent a number of years working in corporate partnerships at Forrester Research, and then pivoted and went to business school and got an internship at Nike, which sort of opened my eyes to the sports world. And so after graduating, was fortunate enough to land at the NBA. And I've been here, not to date myself, but coming up on 8 years now. And I currently oversee the league's consumer products and gaming team, which includes a number of different categories, but the largest being our video game business, also now NFTs and our other digital goods, and then traditional hard goods licensing.
Great, thanks so much, Adrienne. And Caty, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I lead brand partnerships at Dapper. I'm pretty much focused every day on finding ways to bring blockchain technology to consumers in a way that creates consumer value. And so we feel like we've done that a bit with Top Shot. When you look at some of the marketplace transaction volume, just how much of the value of that product is captured by consumers is pretty staggering. I'm sure we'll get into some of the details later. I came up through the sports world myself. I was most recently with the NFL, and before that with the NHL, starting out my career at ESPN. So have almost always been in consumer focused marketing or digital roles. So that kind of common thread of bringing fans value in different ways has been something I've been passionate about for a long time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caty. I appreciate it. So let's talk about Top Shot a little bit. Less than a year into NBA Top Shot launched, the community has grown to over 1 million fans in 190 countries who've made over 8 million transactions, generating about $700 million in sales. And the users are visiting Top Shot about 8 times a day. So incredibly, incredibly engaging. I think these are all stats that every one of us on the line would be very, very happy with. Particularly impressive, the most recent action around the NBA Finals, 200,000 playoff packs sold. That is remarkable from July 17th to the 18th. 75,000 people purchased 1.5 million Top Shot moments in the last 30 days. I mean, these are absolutely unheard of engagement, certainly in this space. So I'd like to take a little bit, and Caty or Adrienne, you guys can either take this, but tell the community a little bit for the very few of us who may not have been exposed. I'm personally a user, so I don't necessarily fall into that category. But what is Top Shot, and tell us about what's so exciting about it and why this phenomenon has kind of come to be.
You can take the first stab at that if you want.
Thanks, Caty.
So Top Shot is a product in which you can go in, buy packs of digital assets. Those assets are really the greatest moments of what's happening on the court every night in the NBA. And then you can trade those with your friends. You can buy them and sell them in a marketplace. What's revolutionary about this technology is that because of the product being rooted in blockchain, you actually own those assets. And so owning a Top Shot is a lot more like owning a jersey or owning a mug than it is like, you know, taking a picture on the internet. And what that unlocks is the ability for consumers to generate, retain, otherwise create value through those activities. And so, my collection has a lot. I'm a Trailblazers fan. My collection has a lot of CJ McCollums in it. I have been pruning this collection. I'll open packs. If in that pack I don't get what I'm looking for, it's okay, because I can go sell some of those assets in the marketplace, and then go to the marketplace and one of my peers is going to be selling the thing I'm looking for. And that's all tied into different kind of parts of the game that you can play, whether it's completing challenges or doing quests or doing other activities. And then I would think about it not just as a kind of like website, though. What Top Shot has turned into is really a community. And I would never say that we built that community, because all of the members of the community have built it. And they're people who love basketball, who are interested in technology, who maybe were just curious and then, fell into the rabbit hole and never came out. But all of these people are building connections and building friendships, and really having a lot of fun in participating in this larger economy and feeling like they're actually part of the basketball economy.
Absolutely. I think the user experience, obviously the product itself, the NBA has fans that are incredibly passionate, but creating a user experience that really caters to that is something that's been really impressive, right? And I think that every single company, regardless of what you're doing, should strive to really understand like what excites fans, what are people passionate about, especially in this digital age, as we come to a point where people are looking to kind of represent themselves online. I think you guys did an absolutely fantastic job. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And Adrienne, if you could take us through kind of how this whole thing came to be. I know that, you guys, you had mentioned that your role, you had done quite a bit of research, and we'd love to hear kind of this story about kind of how this came to pass.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I would take it back. So I first personally was sort of introduced to blockchain in 2017. So like most people, especially at that time, was introduced to it through Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which was sort of seeing a rapid increase in value at that time. But at the same time, Ethereum and smart contracts were coming about, and smart contracts being sort of the innovation that make NFTs possible. And it just sort of piqued an interest, and I started to pull on that thread and sort of, as Caty just mentioned, fell down the rabbit hole, and became sort of all consumed with this idea of digital ownership. And I think wouldn't really shut up about it. I guess I'll generously call it evangelizing, but was speaking about it internally at the league, and came across, a handful of colleagues who were equally intrigued by the technology across a variety of our business units. So some folks in our team marketing and business operations group, and our strategy team, and our media team. And so we all sort of collectively got together and started looking at blockchain and evaluating a variety of applications that it could have across our business. Again, whether it's ticketing or membership, tracking the provenance of merch through the supply chain, and of course, digital collectibles, where we saw, a real opportunity to basically have NFTs not only create a new category of digital collectible products, but also, and more importantly, the potential to create this new way for fans to engage with the leagues and with each other, and really sort of own their fandom. So as part of this evaluation process, in probably at this point, it's now like 2018, we were introduced to Dapper Labs, and Dapper was just coming off the success of CryptoKitties at the time, which is basically internet cats that I'll let Caty explain. But it was essentially the first successful NFT project, and it was an impressive group. When we met with them, it was clear that they had a lot of talent within the organization, and that we had the same vision for the space, and also the same fan-centric approach. So we both wanted to turn these unique properties afforded by blockchain into a new category of collectibles that would allow fans to own, showcase, and sort of celebrate their fandom. And so, once we sort of came together, it was pretty quickly evident that, there was something here. So we did a short-term deal to explore the potential growth area for our business, test and learn from a leader in the space, and see if we could give fans this new way to engage with the league in a way that sort of highlights the excitement of our on-court product every night, and lets fans, sort of showcase their fandom and engage with each other around the product. And here we are.
What really
Awesome.
happened was I called Adrienne and like over explained CryptoKitties, assuming she didn't know what it was. And she was like, yeah, no, I get it. And what the league did was give us the latitude and the support that we needed to build something fan centric. They took an approach where they helped foster us through their systems. They helped us, refine our ideas to make sure that they were right for basketball fans. They didn't give us revenue targets to start. And I would like really underline for anyone at a brand, don't start with revenue, start with user engagement. Because if you build something people really love, then they're going to come to it. And if you build something that you're trying to squeeze blood from a stone, users are going to see right through that. And so what the NBA did was give us the time and the support to build something that fans could love first, and the revenue followed. And so I think we've proven out that hypothesis.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, kudos to both of you guys for making that process work, and particularly Adrienne. I'm curious if you have any, the folks that are on the call certainly are interested in bringing emerging technologies to their own organizations and kind of how to think through this. When you're tasked with that, obviously you guys had a, very successful experience dealing with Dapper, but particularly talking about things like revenue targets, which a lot of times can certainly come up in these conversations. How did that change to really focusing on engagement? What was that like? That shift, if you will.
Yeah, so I
Was there a
think,
shift?
yeah, I don't even think there was a shift, to be honest. I think I would attribute it first and foremost to sort of the culture of innovation at the league, and just this desire to keep, not only desire, but sort of encouragement from the top down to continue to push boundaries and find new ways to deliver value to our fans. And, I sit in a revenue generating department, which is always, sort of in the back of our mind. But when it comes to new technologies and new opportunities to, bring value to our fans, bring new ways for our fans to engage with the league, like that does come first and foremost, particularly when we're sort of learning in a new space and seeing how it develops. So I think, like, as Caty mentioned, we took a fan-centric approach, but at the same time, we did want to see, and we did know that if this was successful, there's a variety of ways that it could have impact across our business. So you can see a way where, would it improve the in-arena experience if fans were able to take home and own a play from that game as a memento? Could you see a similar application for viewership? Like if you're watching a game on League Pass, would it be great to own one of those moments and sort of commemorate that time that you watched the game? And sort of, I think the fact that we were evaluating it as a cross-functional team with who each had a foot in sort of a different area of our business and could see those applications come together, it was sort of an easy case to make of like, there's a lot of different ways we can engage. If this is successful, it'll span across our business, and then revenue will follow. So that was sort of the case that we made internally, and thankfully it wasn't that hard of a case to make, although Caty was patient enough to sort of teach us all about blockchain along the way. So it was sort of a step-by-step process, but it wasn't as hard as you might think.
I think we're also nonstop piloting, right? Like Adrienne brought us an idea around All-Star time to announce the Rising Stars roster through Top Shot, and we were like, that's a great idea. Like imagine a partnership where we've been open enough with the NBA and the NBA is open enough with us to bring us ideas like that and to try out new things within the product. And then during the finals we said, what if we reward collectors? What if we say, if you're a great Suns collector, you could get an experience that you may never have again in your life? And we sent 8 fans and 8 of their guests to Game 5 of the NBA Finals. One of those participants flew in from Switzerland. And so that may truly be a once in a lifetime experience that's been afforded to them because of the depth of their fandom and because of how great their collection was, and because of those kind of actions that they took in their fandom. And I think that kind of concept of rewarding fandom has been a little intangible up until now. And what blockchain does is it brings it real tangibility. The things that we kind of reward in the product are curation, like how does your collection represent you as a fan, holding assets for longer periods of time, so not just, you know, flipping and speculating, but being a true fan, supporting players who maybe get less love. We try within Top Shot to hit as many players as possible and not be too concentrated in that like top 10 you know, recognizable athlete category. And really what that does is it helps people get to know their teams better, get to know other teams better, and really spend more time talking about those things. And we hear it from collectors all the time that either they weren't fans and they became fans, they picked a team, they bought a jersey. There's maybe, you know, at some point we'll get into a study of what does that implication look like for other areas of merch sales and other things. We've heard from people that they were lapsed fans, so they had fallen out of following the league, and this reminded them how much they loved basketball. And because the product is 100% focused on the best stuff that happens on the court and all of this like great spectacular play, of how could you not fall in love with basketball again through that. And then we have huge fans who are like, this is so great, I've gotten other friends into it, this is just like exactly what I've been looking for in a way to kind of like solidify or authenticate my fandom. And so there's kind of something for anybody in there.
Absolutely. And I think you touched upon something really important, right? You not only created this incredible experience, you brought in two very important elements here, right? One was this social or community experience as well. But the other one obviously is, you know, taking something that is already really, really, you know, certainly popular, which is the unboxing and, you know, kind of the pack drop and all of these things, assembling your pack composition. All these things are obviously wildly successful in, for lack of a better term, the real world. Bringing it, you know, kind of the core components to this digital experience is, you know, I assume is part of the reason why it's been, you know, frankly, so successful. Just creating something on its own, it probably wouldn't have gotten there. But understanding, and Caty, having your big background in, you know, with CryptoKitties and, you know, other successes that the company has had, and ensuring that that has been a component of any experience that you guys are creating, I think, you know, certainly has been really, really important. Can you talk us through a little bit, you know, about how, you know, for lack of a better term, kind of the MVP, or what was the first iteration of this? What did it kind of look like, and how did that evolve? And, you know, I understand that revenue targets weren't quite there, but can you talk us a little bit about early indicators that suggested this was going to be wildly successful?
Yeah, I mean, when we launched, it was like a mess, right? The technology was unproven. We launched in a closed beta, and the NBA was supportive of this so that we could make mistakes. And we started with 30, you know, a mix of crypto people, what we called crypto people and basketball people, to just test the product and, you know, see how they felt about the pack openings and see how they felt about all of those things. Our first pack drops took us days. It would be like, those fans were with us for hours and hours and hours. And we're so great at providing feedback. And as we expanded, invited their friends. And I think that's part of why just structurally it moved so quickly, was because we set up a structure where you would want to invite your friends, and that like word of mouth effort really worked for us. But, you know, we started with just pack drops. The marketplace wasn't even open yet. The pack drops broke every time we did it. At one point, we managed to get a pack drop done in one day, and we were like, we made it. That's so great. But then you know, we improved and we improved and we improved, and we got to the point that we could release with a marketplace to anybody who wanted to come in. But to us, it's like a kind of a consistent improvement path. We always want to be adding, we always want to be augmenting, we always take fan feedback. And I think as other brands are thinking about the way they want to enter this space, it doesn't necessarily have to be quite as heavy as Top Shot. It doesn't have to be this like whole bespoke environment. But when you're thinking about it, think about the difference between Top Shot and what else is out there. When you're thinking about a product, are you going to be talking to your consumers? Our executive team is in our Discord server, talking to collectors and getting feedback and giving feedback. the NBA has been willing to lean in on that front. Um, so there's this like support of the community that I think is a differentiator. There's also engagement loops. Our goal is for this to be fun and sticky and to be something you want to do every day. Actually, our goal is for it to be something we want to do every day. And so that kind of like, permeates the whole product. But if it's just a one-time shot, what does your consumer do with that thing when they have it? What kind of benefit does it have to them? How does it showcase something that they couldn't showcase before? How does that authenticity tie into it? And I think that's really what we were striving for, and what we continually strive for with every feature release, with every minor tweak, with every little update to the marketplace. We're always kind of being in a constant state of making it better.
Great, thank you for that. And Adrienne, tell us a little bit about when you knew this was kind of successful, if you will, when this was something that really had legs and really took off. Any anecdote that you could share?
Well, first I would say, Caty, we launched in closed beta so we could pretend like we didn't make mistakes. So like stop sharing all those early days secrets. I think I knew, well, I sort of knew it was going to be successful when I started seeing the product renders, and we started iterating on what the moment was going to look like and seeing it come together as a cube, and just like the superior design skills and creative process that the Dapper team was bringing. That was sort of the first like reassuring moment. And then once it started to take off and sell out, I remember actually the first time, it was mid-January. I think it was our Christmas Day pack that we were doing. And I went to go get it. And for the first time ever, I couldn't. And it was sold out. And then the next pack I went back to, and the site crashed. And then Top Shot took over my life for the next sort of 6 months and counted. But it was that sort of exponential growth, and it was really exciting to see.
Very, very cool. And how about you, Caty?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, well, Mac and I came in and pitched it. We were pretty sure from day one. But our North Star hasn't changed, right? We wanted to bring a product that celebrated the spectacular moments in NBA basketball, that would drive value for fans, and that people wanted to spend time in. That was like the only criteria that we had. It wasn't like, oh, it has to have X feature, and it has to be, you all have to buy everything in cryptocurrency, or like, we just didn't think about it that way. I love basketball, and I was like, this is how I want to build a basketball collection. We've since got significantly more sophisticated. We've brought in people from across, the sports industry, the daily fantasy industry, physical trading cards. We're kind of pulling on all of these different threads, gaming, to understand, to bring people in who could think in different ways about the product. But I thought it was going to be successful all the way along. So I just get a little hair flip in that. But I think something Adrienne said was really important. We only kind of reached the point where the product clicked 6 months ago. And so this is such a nascent industry. There's so many different applications that we're going to find out about. There's so many different ways to experiment. But I think everybody has to be a little patient with it, to a certain extent, that stuff is going to break, then it's going to get fixed. Every stone that we turn over has something under it that we're like, I wish I didn't pick up that stone, but here we are. But I think as the market matures, it's going to be a really important part of the fan experience to be able to showcase, their fandom in this way. And you can imagine a future where, you authenticate something like your Dapper wallet into Twitter or Instagram, and then you're also kind of defining your digital self through true ownership. And I think that part is like the part that gets really, really exciting, where it's like all of these disparate products are going to be really fun for people, and basketball fans hopefully will continue to love Top Shot for a long time. But that fandom is going to permeate into all of the different places that you live digitally.
Sure, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Adrienne, can you tell us a little bit, and maybe Caty, but Adrienne, I'd love to hear about what's next for Top Shot, and then Caty, afterwards, we can talk a little bit more at the macro level, kind of on where you see this entire space going. But before we do that, Adrienne, you guys had a very unique challenge, and that unique challenge is not only bringing this great experience to the masses, but actually educating users on what the idea of something being unique digitally actually is, right? So verifiable fandom, that's super exciting. Taking things like the unboxing and showcasing your fandom, great. That's already been proven. But this idea of truly taking something that, you know, for historically for, you know, a larger audience has been something that has been quite literally cut and paste, and saying, no, you actually have something unique. Can you talk us through, you know, what that education process is like? Do you take any role in that? And you know, how do you view that?
Yeah, well, I think we, again, sort of benefit from having a young, sort of tech savvy fan base,
Sure.
and a consumer that is consuming our highlights on social, and, you know, has been leaning into our collectibles and trading cards business, and understands sort of like the value of collecting NBA moments, whether it's trading cards or, you know, other memorabilia. So I think it was sort of right for our audience. I think the other thing too is, you know, we, and I think led by Dapper and their vision, sort of put blockchain in the back burner, and sort of led with the product itself, and just created a really compelling experience that fans would want to engage in and would want to tell their friends about and would want to spend time in. And it wasn't really about getting into the sort of details of smart contracts and ledgers and all of that fun stuff. We really tried to make this mainstream and about collecting. And I think that's something that's really inherent and just natural to our fans. So it was sort of a good fit.
Great. And
Yeah, I'll
Caty.
add to that that when we started, like I said, real fans in that beta, with air quotes, because when we started, there was a delta, right? We would survey, the NBA would help us survey their fan base, and we would get lots of people who were like, I've never even heard of cryptocurrency, like talking, you know, early 2018. That is not the case today. And we've reached a point where there's a huge like blending of basketball fans, sports fans, but fans of everything that are crypto aware, that maybe have invested in a little bit of currency, that have curiosity about it. We were in a much different place when we launched, that there was no proof case and no one knew what this kind of thing could look like. And I think that what'll be really great is when we see it look different. When we don't see, you know, future rinse repeats of NBA Top Shot, but we see, you know, things done for fans of sci-fi and fans of music and fans of fashion that are right for those fans and are not just Top Shot for. And I think that's when this industry will have finally kind of reached a point of maturity, when new ideas come into the marketplace that really speak to those subsets of fans. Because everyone out there, your fans are crypto savvy. That's just like the new reality. And we're all living in that world now.
Totally. Absolutely. Great. Thanks, Caty. Adrienne, you know, really excited about Summer League. Tell us a little bit about what's next, not just for Summer League, but how that might expand to the broader NBA.
Yeah. So we see, you know, as Caty mentioned earlier, you know, we're just getting started with Top Shot. We think, you know, we've proven the business model. Fan engagements to the start of this season has exceeded our expectations, but I do think we're just sort of still getting started. So a couple of different things we're looking at as we look ahead. I think one is, to your point, what we're testing at Summer League right now, which is what we're calling a fandom tier. And it's this idea that if you're actually in the arena, like, let's give you access to an exclusive moment that you can't get anywhere else. And sort of what are the implications of that? Will it help drive people to the arena who maybe wouldn't have gone in the past? Does it make the fan experience in the arena a little bit better? And like, those are the types of things we're trying to test out. So we just launched our first pilot yesterday, actually, at the first day of Summer League, and sold 2,600 moments in arena, which was a great first step towards making that a proof of concept. So our first goal is to just sort of expand that, and make it a little bit bigger and a league-wide opportunity next year. I think we're also looking to add content to the platform. I don't want to break any news now, but we're going to be making announcements over the and ruin Caty's day. Yeah. Making some announcements for the coming weeks of just making it a richer and deeper product in terms of content available. And then I think the other thing we're looking at next year, now that we've sort of got the product, you know, the foundation of the product stable and ready to grow on it, is brand partnerships. I think, the NBA has the benefit of having some of the world's best brands as our marketing partners. And, we see a real opportunity to tap into that expertise and work together to find new ways to bring Top Shot to our fans. So those are just a couple of areas we see next.
And can you
On the
talk to us?
summer,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, on the Summer League activation too, not only I'm so stoked about how
Yeah.
that all turned out, like the lounge was amazing. We had hundreds of fans come through, right? Like we had one-on-one conversations over the course of the day with hundreds of fans. And the earliest ones came in and were like, we love Top Shot. Like, we knew you guys were doing this. We're here for this. Like, we'll see you multiple times throughout the day. But as the day went on, more and more people were curious. And those conversations became, oh, I just signed up for an account. Like, can you talk to me more about this? And so we think that there's also something there about, again, that blending of digital and in real life, and that kind of human connection in community, that there's the opportunity also to help the community grow through one-on-one interactions with fans, whether that's in arena or at a special NBA event, or whether that's replicable for other brands. There's this great opportunity to have a conversation with your fans that may not have existed before.
Very cool. And then Adrienne, sorry, or Caty. Some folks on the call haven't, obviously been able to experience this live event, if you will. Can you just talk us very briefly about kind of what the user experience is like?
What the user experience is like at
the actual Summer League game. So do people have to go to a specific location? How are you engaging with the individuals? Is it a notification on their phone? How is this actually working?
So we're testing a couple of different things at Summer League. So with our fandom tier moments, the way it works is, so as Caty mentioned, there's sort of a Top Shot setup on the concourse. And so fans go and basically are able to purchase the moment at that location. I think in the future, we're going to look to make it more sort of digital. And that is on Caty to figure out. But at the moment, we're just trying to iron out the instant moment sort of daily content delivery processes and some of the sort of back end elements, but it's a first step in the right direction.
Great, thanks for that.
So,
go ahead, Caty.
When people come to the NBA Top Shot experience, they're basically like waiting in line to buy those moments that they can on site. The kind of lounge itself, though, we've programmed so that there are pack openings, and people who have maybe never seen a pack opening can experience that. We had a couple of players who came in. I actually saw a Slack conversation where someone was like, hey, we have a player who's waiting in line and he just got called back down to like do press. Can he skip the line? And I was like, what? Yes, of course he can skip the line. But like, it was more of an experience than it is just like somewhere to stop in and scan your phone. And I think we want to keep that vibe to it. It's somewhere where digital and experiential marketing meet, and that opportunity to meet people who are also enthusiastic about the product, whether that's a street team or whether that's other collectors, or whether that's right now it's our own team, right? We are on the ground in Vegas doing that one-on-one conversation. But I think, to Adrienne's point, the more we make it scalable, the more we can bring that to different places.
Got it. Very cool. So in a second, we're going to move over to Q&A. I've got a couple of questions here. But before that, Caty, I believe it was you who shared an anecdote of players actually reaching out to you when this all launched. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? I thought that was, when we talk about success metrics, that's not something you generally think about, but exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. We have a great relationship with the NBPA. We had, talked about how do we get players as endorsers and when the time was right for that. And, when do we, like at the time, not having huge budgets, when do we like trigger that, and being really kind of protective of it. And then one day, players started sliding into our DMs on Twitter and Instagram and saying, why didn't you decide on this moment of mine? Or like, if you're looking for more moments, like here's a link to, a moment of mine that we think should be included in it. Whether it was like in many cases, the players themselves saying, how do I get verified? And we were like, we don't have a verification system. I guess we need to build that. We need to prioritize that in the pipeline. And at one point, we had also football and hockey and other sport players sliding into our DMs being like, when is it our turn? And can you verify me on Top Shot? And we were like, actually, we don't have like a nuanced system to this check mark, so we can't. But like, then we're turning down professional athletes who are like wanting to engage in this product. And so at that point, it was just like super wild. We launched this verification service. The best part of that is, you know, players like Josh Hart and Tyrese Halliburton like got so excited about it and shared that excitement. And there's nothing better than that kind of like organic engagement with a product where they're opening packs on their live streams, and like it is like the perfect mix of showcasing something that they care about, right? They care about what their legacy is in this league, and creating a point of opportunity for fans to engage directly with players that either they love or maybe they didn't realize were so good, such good young players, and then enriching that kind of experience within the product. But yeah, Jacob, our community lead, was like, I'm starting to get like a lot of messages from players and then we had to figure out what to do.
Very cool. Thank you. So a couple of questions from the audience. First, how do you see your audience demographic expanding to be more inclusive as the industry grows and evolves? Who would like to take that one?
I could probably take that one. I think we've really only scratched the surface, right? At this point, 6 months, I mean, like practically 6 months in, we're probably looking at a core group of early adopters. I mean, that feels big with, you know, significantly over 1 million registered accounts. And so it's not a niche group of early adopters. It's quite a broad group of early adopters, but I think that we could get better in points of accessibility. I think a lot of that is the education piece, that we haven't done a ton of education so far. We've let people who really like the product do that for us, but we can specifically target different demographics for sure. And I think the thing that Adrienne's not allowed to talk about yet will also bring in a new demographic to the platform in the very near future. But it's really, that's also a work in progress too. Again, this true ownership thing, it did not happen in a digital space before. And so explaining that to people and then explaining it in a way that's going to resonate with different communities is going to be really important.
Great, thank you. And also, so Adrienne, can you tell us how should older brands gracefully enter new technology spaces? Examples: TikTok, esports, NFTs, etc. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, start approaching any technology, NFT, social, just from the lens of what your fan wants and who your fan is, rather than trying to sort of force fit your brand into something that's new and emerging and buzzy. If your fans aren't there and if your fans aren't interested, I think it's going to be a harder fit. But I would just say start with the fan-centric approach and, you know, sort of test and learn and be authentic to your brand and authentic to what your fans want, and it should sort of end up well. And I think also, I mean, the other sort of key learning, which isn't groundbreaking by any means, but I think it's choosing the right companies to partner with. I think, would we have been here if we'd gone on this on our own or with another partner other than Dapper? Who knows? But I think sort of partnering with best-in-class companies is a great starting point as well.
I think you'll hear a resounding no from Caty, but that's
why we have her on mute.
Yeah. No. Caty, do you can you answer that as well? What are your thoughts there as well? Just guidance for brands, more traditional brands, even those that may not have, you know, an NBA type of fan base, if you will, entering into, you know, these arenas.
I mean, I would guess if that question's being asked, it's because they want to have a more NBA looking fan base.
Sure, yeah.
But I would say start with what's great about your products. And I say this all the time, start with what you know about what you know. NFTs especially are not going to be new to you if you look at them through the lens of things that you already have expertise in, which is who are your fans? What do they love? What resonates with them? What do they spend money on? What do they spend time on? What are they telling you? If you're not talking to your fans, then you're probably doing something majorly wrong. But I would start with what's great about your brand. And if it is something that is great for a younger generation as well, then it's going to resonate with them. And I don't think it's about necessarily bringing bringing what you've always done into a new space, but more about how do you re-envision the thing that people love about you, and then how do you represent that to a different fan base who maybe is completely unaware of the benefits of your product.
Thank you, Caty. Going back to Adrienne real quick, Caty talked a little bit about what she thought would be kind of the future of this space. Adrienne, how do you feel about that? Where do you see specifically sports marketing and engaging with fans going, leveraging blockchain technology? Where do you see that going in the future? What excites you?
I think it just excites me that we're just at the beginning, right? I mean, I think we've seen that there's demand for this type of product. I think, believe in NFTs and blockchain technology generally, and think it has staying power and a ton of promise for our business and sort of across the sports marketing landscape. I think there's applications in digital collectibles, in membership, in giving exclusive access and experiences. So, I think we're really just, the top of the first inning, to steal a metaphor from baseball, but we're just getting started and there's so much ahead. And I'm excited to see sort of what other leagues and properties and teams bring to market, because I think it's going to be a really exciting time.
Great. Well, I want to thank both of you. We've got David joining us, which generally means this is the end of our session. But I want to thank Adrienne. I want to thank Caty. Thank you for your time, sharing insight. It's been lovely chatting with you. I'm sure the community has really enjoyed this session. And David, thank you and Brand Innovators for setting this all up.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, I think this is great. It's such a fascinating, topic, especially, these days. And we've heard about it a couple times earlier in this program. As somebody who grew up with like a book about this thick filled with baseball and basketball cards. I mean, like this was made for those kinds of fans. And if you what Nike's done with their crypto kicks is fascinating. And if you look at some of what the other leagues are posting as they're hiring for new jobs, you can very easily tell they're watching what you guys, they're looking for people with cryptocurrency experience and NFT experience. So it's clear they're watching very closely and very excited to, hopefully, continue to expand this world. But, again, we talk a lot with our marketers about how fandom is, as a concept, is replacing loyalty, right? So, and you guys have the true fans here. So it is really cool watching. I can't wait to see what comes next. So thank you, Adrienne. Thank you, Caty. Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate your time and sharing with our community. And we will be watching to hear all that fun news when you guys announce it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
To everyone here tuning in on Zoom and on YouTube, thank you for joining us. We're going to kick off same time tomorrow. We have another fantastic group of speakers. You'll hear from lots of New Balance and Under Armour and MGM and just an amazing, amazing group. So we're really excited. We got some new special speakers coming up that will be announced as well. So we'll see you back here. Not bright and early, or at least not for those of you on the East Coast, but bright and early for the West Coast. And can't wait. We'll see you then.